Hey there everyone, and welcome to Complete Backend Developer using Django. Now before I talk about what are the tools that we need for this particular course, let me tell you one thing. A lot of you I know that are something like, woo, will I be able to do it or not? But trust me, you will be. I have trained more than 100,000 people and all of them, in fact most of them were first of all like, woo, will I be able to do it or not? But trust me, right now they are working at amazing startups, amazing big giant companies. I meet them in a lot of conferences and all of them are working fine. You will be too. So don't worry about anything. Even if you have a little bit hesitation in getting started, don't worry. Django is super easy of getting started in the backend. In fact, it is the most perfect path and you'll be fine. I'll be with you throughout this course. Okay, so now let's talk about what are the things that we do need to learn the backend development. The only good part about the Django is there's not much tool to have. First thing that we need is Python, and the second thing that we need is a text editor. That's it. For the text editor, I'll give you three choices here. I'll tell you which one I'll be using. The first one is the most amazing, famous Sublime Text. And in fact, I would recommend the third version if you are choosing the Sublime Text. It's amazing, available for cross-platform, Mac, Windows, and Linux. Choose any one of them. The second option is Atom. This is going to be the one which I'll be using throughout the course. I love it, absolutely love it, created by the GitHub guys. And again, available for Mac, Windows, and Linux, so you can choose that as well. There is a new player in the ground which is really stable and is performing really well, which is VS Code, Visual Studio Code. And you can use that as well. It is also available for cross-platform, Windows, Mac, and Linux as well. What I'll be using throughout the course, it is going to be Atom. That's it. No extra plugins, no extra snippets, just Atom. The second thing that you will be needing is Python. Now, yes, I know, I am aware that a lot of people from Mac and Linux says we already are having Python. No, you don't have it. You are having Python version 2. And what we are looking here is Python 3. So go ahead, download the Python on your system. It can be 3.6 point anything, okay? As long as it is saying that 3.6, I just want it. It can be 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, whatever that is. Just choose the Python latest version on Python 3. Go ahead, install that. It's a pretty simple install for Mac and for Windows, guys. You just click next, I okay, agree, yes, that's it. That's pretty much it, okay? And the next guy, the big guy, is Django. And yes, there is a spelling D at the front here, but we call it Django. Just don't ask me much of the things here. It is Django. So we'll be working with the Django. Good part is you don't need to download anything for Django, okay? Just make sure you are aware of the website. It is djangoproject.com, because there's a very famous movie of Django as well, which pops up quite a lot. So make sure you are looking for djangoproject.com, okay? Once you have installed the Python, just open up your command prompt or terminal in the case of Mac and Windows, guys. Okay, let me just remove this. And what you have to do is type this line here. First of all, I'm talking for the Mac and Linux, guys. I'll come on to the Windows in a minute. What you have to do is you have to type Python 3 space dash dash version. Okay, just go ahead and type this and hit enter. As long as you're getting some number here that might be 3.6.4, 3.6.3, whatever that is, as long as we are getting some number, that is amazing. You have done a pretty good job. Coming back onto Windows, guys, what you have to type is Python space hyphen version. You don't have to write 3 here. I'll explain the reason behind that as well. In my system, I'm on a Mac, or you might be on Linux. In our system, Python ships in as a default. So we are already having a Python version 2, but we have installed Python 3. So we have to explicitly mention that which Python version I'm looking for. For Windows, that's not the case. Python doesn't comes in as a default installed. So you are installing only one version of Python. That's why you are saying Python space hyphen version. So that's it. You should be getting some numbers after installing the Python, and that's it. That's all what we are looking for. You don't need to install Django as of now. We'll be working on that later on. Also, go onto your desktop and create a new folder named Django exercise. This is where we'll be keeping all of our exercise files. And I just want them to be at one place so that we can later on push them on GitHub or Heroku and can learn more about it. Okay, so go ahead, create a new folder on the desktop, and that's it. See, that was pretty easy to get started. So that's it for this video, and I'll catch you up in the next one.
Hey there everyone, and welcome to Complete Backend Development using Django. So there are 2 points in the Django development phase where you are completely blown away. This is the first point, and the second point comes up when you first time looks at the admin interface. So I'll talk about that later on. Right now, this is the first time when we're going to create a project and we're going to launch that. We won't be doing any kind of customization or understanding of the things. We just want right now to create a sample project and launch it in the web browser. That's it. That's our goal. And let's just have that. And obviously you might be thinking that we haven't yet seen about the Django anything. So let me go up here and open up a URL, which is djangoproject.com. And if I go into this and click on the download, don't worry, we are not going to be downloading it from here. You can see there is written something known as pip install Django == 2.0.1. Okay, so this is the one I'm talking about here. Okay, for Windows guys, this is okay completely, but there are a couple of things that you should be aware of it. Now, first and foremost, we are not kind of deploying this project onto any actual Heroku or maybe any web server right now. We just want to be up and running. Now, when you deploy your project onto an actual website where thousands of people are going to be using it, there is a lot of difference even in the point version when it says 2.0.1 and 2.0.2. So if you want to install any particular version of the Django, then you should be saying pip install Django == and then the version number. But in case you want to install like whatever the latest release is, and for the learning beginner purpose, it's always recommended to use the latest beginners, whatever that the latest one is, you can just type pip install Django, all lowercase, no uppercase at all. Okay, so let's go here. And for the Mac guys, you have to type pip3 and install and Django. And for the Windows guys, you just have to type pip here. Again, remember in the last video I talked you through that how we are having 2 versions of Python. This is the again reason that we have to type pip3. And for Windows guys, you just have to type pip install Django, all lowercase words. And again, just like me, don't do these typo mistakes. So it's just a Django. Okay, don't do that. Okay. Now, just before I type this command here, also let me tell you that I have actually degraded a couple of things. And if I just check Python 3 -- version, now you won't be seeing any Anaconda on this system. I have degraded it and now it's just Python. Okay, no Anaconda. And let me also tell you what happens when I say pip3 install and Django. Django is actually by default installed on my system. The reason why you want to install it via pip and not via direct install is because there are a couple of more dependencies which needs to be there in your system while installing Django. One of them is pytz. This is the one, so it automatically get installed when you install using pip. Enough of the drama about the pip. Let's go ahead and try to do something here. Okay, these are the information you should be know. This makes you powerful there. Okay. So open up this here, Django exercise, and we're going to create a new folder, and we're going to create a 01, and I'm going to call this as project 1. All lowercase would be awesome. Okay. And we'll be creating a lot of such project. The idea here is repetition. So the more we'll be repeating the stuff, it will more absorb in us and we'll be more comfortable. Okay. So now let's just go on to desktop, and in the desktop, I have a folder known as Django exercise, and then I have 01 project. Don't worry, we will not be walking through much on the command line interface, but again, for every developer, it's kind of a basic thing that you should be aware of how to traverse in the directory, couple of listing commands like ls or dir, and couple of stuff like that. Okay, not much. So this is the stuff. We don't have anything here. For Windows, you can do dir to check what's there in the directory. Now, once you have installed Django, it will give you a command here, which is Django-admin. Okay, this is the command through which we'll be doing variety of stuff. The first command that we're going to learn is start project. Okay, so this is the command which gives you all the boilerplate code which needs to be there on your system when you are starting a Django project. We're going to call our project as hello world. It's a customary thing that every programmer likes to do. So let's just hit enter. There we go. Let's just go here and see what is happening. So inside this, we can see a hello world here. And here we have a manage.py and hello world here, couple of files here. Okay. So now just fire up your Atom, or in case you might be using Sublime Text or any other web browser, not the browser, the IDE that you want to use. So go ahead, open that up. Mine Atom is taking a little bit while. Sublime Text could be a little bit faster. But again, regardless of that, okay, come on, there we go. Now I'm gonna do is open up this hello world into this. All you can do is drag and drop it here, and there we go. Don't worry about this DS store. This is my Mac default file. You don't have to worry about it. In the hello world, we have a couple of files in it: setting, URL, visg, and the manage.py. Notice there is no SQLite file here. I'm telling you this because it is about to be created automatically. Okay, so these are the files. Now let's just run our very first project. First of all, go into that directory, which is hello world. Do a quick ls or dir if you're on a Windows, and you can see there is a file known as manage.py. This is the file which is important, and it is going to run your project. So what you have to do is Python. In my case, I'll be typing Python 3. For Windows guys, you can just type Python or just try it out. And then I'll run this manage.py, and I'll tell it a command to run the server. And I'll say run server. Okay, this is the command that we have to tell it. And just hit enter there. And first thing that we can notice here, that this db.sqlite is a new file which came up here, db.sqlite3, which is a database file. Also, there are a couple of warnings that this is not migrated and all these stuff. We'll talk about that later on. Right now, we don't want to do much of the issues here. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to copy this. A quick side note, do not press Control-C to copy, because Control-C is to quit this server, okay? So I'm going to do copy this, or it's a easy URL 127.0.0.1, and we can just work on that. Pretty easy. So we're going to just paste it here, and that's it. Congratulations, you have created your first Django project. You have installed it and have configured it almost perfectly. Almost. There are a couple of few stuffs which we haven't done, which we'll be progressing later on. But I think this is a perfect start. You have just been into the first section of the course, and you are successfully able to launch a complete Django project. This is amazing, and that too on a Django too. So pretty good, pretty exciting. Now in the future videos, we'll be doing configuring, and we'll be creating these things again and again. Again, repetition is the motto, so that everything becomes so friendly. Okay, I think that is pretty much enough for this video, and I'll surely catch you up in the next one.
Hey there everyone, and welcome to Complete Backend Development using Django. So I know this is really a little bit early to explore all the files, because right now we don't have all the files that we actually require, as well as we are missing a lot of things about the whole cold heart of the Django. Now let's try to understand how the Django applications work, and we will explore the files as well. First and foremost, the important part is how Django application works. So I do have an example for you. Let's just say this website google.com is designed in Django. Obviously not, but let's just assume for a moment. Hypothetical situation. So when you land up onto a Django application itself onto a core heart is nothing. It's nothing at all. It's all dependent on the apps. We call each individual functionality of this application as a separate app. And this is one of the powerful reason why people like to use Django, because everything is just completely separate. You can just change that somehow. So let's just say you want to go on to google.com. Now, when you want to go on to google.com, the Django is like, this is the base. When you want to perform a search application, you want to perform a search, that's a separate app. In the Django, we call it as an app. You want to go to your Gmail, that's a separate app. You want to search for images, that's a separate app. And when you want to visit YouTube of the Google, or maybe you want to search for videos, that's a complete separate app. So everything in the Django is app. And again, they are completely independent of each other, and which makes Django really powerful. Okay, now again, we don't have all the files being generated since we have learned only to create a Django project. We haven't yet learned how we can create the Django apps. That's why all of the files are not here. But again, it's a good point so that you can understand these smaller files right now. And when we'll be creating more app, the more file will be generated and we'll be exploring them a little bit later. So first and foremost, you'll be seeing that this Pi cache, for some of you, this might not be visible because you might be on Windows and these files might not be available to you, but we never, ever touch these files. These are just C-based interactions of the files and URLs. We never, ever touch that. The second file that we have here is _init_.py. I'll talk about what is this __init and all these files. Usually, again, we don't touch this file. And again, just to give you a heads up start, most of the time I'll be saying we don't touch this file. Okay, bear with me. Then the next file is settings.py. Now, this is a settings file in which you mention what kind of Django project settings you are using. Maybe you want to use a secret key and all these things. Now, again, just make sure you never, ever show anybody this secret key here because it can be super dangerous for your project. Now, this project is not going to be seeing any daylight and it's not going to be uploaded on any server. That's why I can reveal it to you. But again, you should never reveal that to anyone. This can be dangerous. Also, there are a couple of base directory paths that you have to set when you are uploading this project onto actual live server. We'll talk about that later on. Now, in the settings.py, this is the one area which we'll be touching quite a lot, which is installed apps. As I told you, everything in the Django is a separate app. Gmail, your YouTube, whatever you are doing, your maybe authentication, and all these things are apps. So we'll be mentioning them that these are the apps that we have created, and please recognize them, or you should be aware of these apps. So whatever you're calling your apps, you have to mention that in here as well, installed app, okay? Then comes the middleware. Now, sometimes for some of the extra functionalities, middleware need to be used. Now, one of the very example could be maybe you want to use a Facebook login in your application. And that kind of thing may sometimes require to add a couple of lines of the middleware there. Not much of the times, but sometimes it does require. Then again, these templates and all the things, we don't touch them much often. If you want to change this separate directory from which it should be looking up the templates, then obviously we have to change and mention them here. But usually we don't do that. And this is the part on line number 76 where it comes up as a database. We will talk about database later on. Django is completely compatible with SQLite 3, MySQL, Postgres, Firebase, whatever you like to have. For startup, we are going to be working with SQLite 3 mostly, but I'll show you the ways how you can configure it for MySQL as well as Postgres as well. No big deal. It's really super easy and super simple. Okay. Then we have these auth password validators. Again, we don't touch them much often, and rest of the things is completely there. There is a static URL as well. I'll talk about later on the static files, that how you can add your static files like CSS, some JavaScript files, maybe Bootstrap file, how you can add them later on. Right now, it's just completely okay. Now let's move on to the next file, which is urls.py. This is the most important file because in every Django project, what you'll notice that it is all the play of URLs. This is the first file which, whenever you upload your Django project onto a server, this is the first file which get interacted whenever a request is being made. Let's just say your website name is Learn Code Online and somebody makes a request to Learn Code Online. He needs to go somewhere. Maybe he wants to go to courses page, maybe he wants to go to admin page, or maybe he wants to go some other places as well. Again, for all of these things, here we will be writing a thing that go to other URL file which we are having, and based on that redirect the user. I know this is a little bit confusing, but just understand this, that this is the first file which user hits as a request, and we have to mention where this user needs to go or to which app this user needs to go. For example, let's just say you have a path for maybe Gmail. So you'll be writing path and here Gmail / that means go to Gmail and then some URL for that. Again, I know this is a little bit confusing, but don't worry. Just understand this is important. Okay. Then this is our web service gateway interface file. We don't again touch that much often. In fact, almost never. This is just there and just have it here. Then we have db.sqlite 3. It's not readable in our this editor. We have a separate editors for such kind of files. Right now, this is completely empty because we haven't done any kind of management for this. We will be learning later on how we can manage and import our database and everything here. Okay, this is quite a lot of information, but let me also mention a couple of things here. Right now, we haven't seen where our models is, means where we can write the queries to interact with the SQLite 3 database. We haven't seen where is our view file where we can write what happened when user click on something or when user actually gives us some data. We haven't seen those files. Honestly, these files are not even present yet. We have to create an app for that. We have just created a project right now. We have to create an app for that, and that app will have all these files. Okay, I know this is quite a lot of things to digest right now, but again, these are just always needs to be there. Even if you don't understand much of it, just let it be there, keep moving on, and I promise you things will get much more clear as we're going to create our very first project. That's it for this video, and I'll catch you up in the next one.